What's up, everybody? This is Chrysler. I bring you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of all your vehicles. On today's show, we're going to do 4 topics. We standardly just do 3, but we're going to kick in a 3rd topic or a 4th topic this time because I want to touch all my bases. I want to talk about Nissan as they take over a Ford plant here, and they scared of tariffs. You know how that goes. We're also going to talk about EV batteries and how BYD is coming out with a battery that you should be able to charge for up to 300 miles in like 5 minutes, a necessity. We'll also talk about the new CEO of Stellantis has been appointed, real quick. And last but not least, we're going to talk about Shedeur Sanders, the new NFL Cleveland Browns quarterback who's making moves that standardly most rookies don't make. All right, so let's jump right into it. We're gonna fly through this first one. It's gonna be a reader, but I want to talk about, because we're still always talking about tariffs, and that's always a big thing, and I always talk about how it's very important that we use tariffs to bring more work over to the U.S. And one way that they're doing that is taking old plants and revising them, renovating them, and starting to use them. So this is a story about Nissan planning to take over a old Ford plant because they're afraid of tariffs. So let's read this one real quick and we're going to keep it moving. All right, so Nissan plans to avoid tariffs, take over a Ford plant. And this is by Nate Swanner, and this is from Monday, May 26. Nissan will use a defunct Ford factory to manufacture EV batteries. Though not fully implemented, the specter of tariffs looms large over the auto industry. After decades of building global supply chains and leaning into overseas manufacturing, automakers are growing concerned that tariffs will hit hard and fast. Like many, Nissan is looking to stateside production and procurement to avoid tariffs should they arrive, and is now partnering with Ford to help in one critical way. The Wall Street Journal reports that a Ford plant in Kentucky will now be used by Nissan to manufacture batteries for its EVs. Though the report doesn't detail Nissan's production plans, expect that batteries for the Ariya and Leaf, Nissan's only 2 fully electric vehicles, will come from this Kentucky plant. Nissan is using Ford for all the right reasons. In 2021, Ford built 2 factories in Kentucky as part of a larger $7 billion investment in production and electrification. The 2 plants were a joint venture with SK On, a battery maker in Korea that produces EV batteries and power storage solutions. The Wall Street Journal notes that weaker than expected demand for EVs caused one of the Kentucky facilities to sit dormant. That low demand eventually met with high production costs and looming tariffs, creating a slowdown in Ford's battery manufacturing. Nissan's choice to utilize this defunct factory helps to avoid tariffs on imported EV batteries, which promises to be a substantial additional cost to EV buyers that they are unlikely to tolerate. Still don't see it. In Q1, Nissan reported a $4.5 billion loss and canceled a planned battery factory in Japan. SK On and Nissan already have a deal in place too. In March, Nissan said SK On would provide batteries for electrified SUVs in production at its Canton, Mississippi plant. It seems reasonable that this defunct Ford plant in Kentucky that was built in partnership with SK On will serve as the production point for SK On and Nissan efforts. Why this matters for Nissan and Ford. Details of the deal between SK On and Ford are unknown, but this development is significant for Ford. It either recoups losses by leasing the factory to Nissan or avoids any potential breach of contract with SK On as the factory sits dormant. If SK On owns and operates the factory, but Ford can't satisfy a production agreement, Nissan stepping in may ease Ford's accountability. Nissan continuously struggles to gain footing in the U.S. market despite making respectable SUVs and great EV SUV. If this deal with SK On keeps Ariya and Leafs maybe on its lot, EV buyers may give its vehicle a closer look. Many other automakers like BMW are in a holding pattern with electrified vehicles, so the time might be right for Nissan to gain market share. And you know how we love talking about market share. All right, so great story. Sits upon everything that we like about the tariffs and we like about the movements that the tariffs are causing. And the most important thing is the tariffs are bringing more jobs to the U.S. And that's the most important thing. We've lost so many jobs due to exporting and, the importing of stuff. So this is just par for the course of the good things that I say are happening because of tariffs. Because they're doing these things out of fear. These tariffs ain't kicked in. These tariffs ain't affected nobody. Only thing that they're doing is fixing things before something bad happens that might not even happen at all. It's just a scare tactic, a extreme negotiation move that Trump is using that has worked fantastically. How can anybody say that tariffs have not worked fantastically? Everybody's come to the table. Everybody's made deals. China's made deals. Everybody's backing up. Everybody's changing their course on certain things. And all because of something that ain't even hit yet. That hasn't even caused a problem yet. It's so much fear based in so many people's minds. And that's what they run with. That's what, the Democrats are running with, talking about how bad tariffs are. But I've only seen good things when it comes to tariffs, when it comes to the automotive industry. Only good things. So what can we say? This is just another in a large bucket of good things that have happened in the automotive industry because of tariffs. And I expect it to continue because we need it, especially here in the U.S. Alrighty then, quick story. We're just going to do that quick. We standardly just do 3 stories, but we're going to kick in 4 today. So next up, I want to talk about EVs again, always. We always talk about EVs. I want to talk about EVs again and talk about how they're coming up with new battery charging systems for the EVs that'll be a lot faster. And I always talk about how this is a necessity if you really want to put EVs on the roads like Governor Newsom wants to. Let's check out this story about a new 5-minute EV battery charging system.
Madeline, you have the insights into this industry. How significant is this BYD claim, then, of a 5-minute charge for the industry?
Yes.
All right, first I want to say that this is the original story was about Lucid. Lucid is a EV charging system that is, EV vehicle that is available here in the U.S. BYD, on the other hand, is not an EV vehicle that is available in the U.S. The Lucid story was about their new charging system that would charge in 20 minutes. And of course, doing research, I found this BYD system that charges in 5. Much better, I would think. Much better story. But the kicker to this story is that for this to come to fruition here in the U.S., the U.S. would have to allow BYD to start bringing its cars and its EV battery charging systems over here. Let's keep it moving.
So BYD have announced that their newest EV platform is going to be capable of charging at up to 1 megawatt of power, which is really an unprecedented jump forward for the passenger vehicle market. That higher peak power is one of the elements facilitating these charging times that are comparable to petrol refueling. And if we compare it to what else is on the market, that's more than 4 times the peak power that a Tesla Model Y can pull.
Wow.
And in China, even premium trims on something like the Xiaomi SU7, which has been touted for its fast charging capabilities, have a peak power of around 500 kilowatts. So
the Xiaomi Zoo or Xiaomi SU7 Max, that's the one I was just talking about with Lucid. That's the one that they're stating can charge a system in up to 20 minutes. So let's keep going.
So BYD really has crushed its competition on this peak power point. But to charge at that speed, you need to be connected to a charger capable of delivering 1 megawatt of power. And that doesn't exist in the public network at present. So BYD have announced in China they're going to build 4,000 of their megawatt flash charging stations. The first of those are going to be ready as soon as next month, which really highlights the pace at which they're moving with this technology. But that isn't going to touch the sides of China's 3.6 million public chargers that it's already installed. And can't necessarily deliver this power. Probably also worth flagging, you need to be plugging in at a very low state of charge to pull that megawatt of power and achieve these really super fast charging speeds. And drivers probably won't feel comfortable with that initially, at least. Okay. So there is going to be a discrepancy between what BYD have announced these vehicles are capable of and the reality of what drivers see on the road.
Just briefly, what does it mean for competition with Tesla and GM then?
So this is a step change for EVs, and certainly this technology is much faster than anything else on the market. But in China, EVs are competing on more than just price, more than just charging speed. So price is a big differentiator in China. Drivers are thinking about autonomous features, and this technology isn't going to be available in Europe and the US initially. So automakers do have some breathing room while this filters through, but it certainly raises the question as to what that next generation of EV charging technology looks like.
Okay.
Toyota working on solid state, that role in the future is now brought into question.
Madeline, thank you very much indeed.
Great story. So what we're talking about is that, and we talk about this a lot, and it is one of those things where, what was it? Originally, I think the date was 2029 that they wanted to get rid of gas combustible engines on the roads, and I think they changed it to 2035, and then they got rid of it altogether because it was stupid. But I believe that it would be a fairly decent idea if we could get to a point where a majority of the cars on the road are EV. You know, pollution, smog, whatever situation you want to say that is caused by gas combustible engines, it would help that. Okay, I will agree with that. But once again, we do not have the infrastructure like China to do such a thing. We do not have EV charging stations readily available for the majority of people in a certain area to be driving EV vehicles. That is simply still why only the more well-to-do people have EV vehicles. More well-to-do. Don't get me wrong, there are probably some people who have EV vehicles who are not extremely wealthy or anything like that, but it is still a situation where the majority of people who have EV vehicles are doing fairly well in their lives, have the ability to put their EV vehicle in their garage and charge it overnight so they don't have to really deal with charging stations on the roads and stuff like that. But for the average person, let's say living in an apartment complex, he's going to have to charge his EV at a charging station, or get with us. We're going to start putting, he's charging things in apartment complexes, but they still have to rely on a charger that is not local to them. I wouldn't be able to, in my apartment, I wouldn't be able to charge my EV vehicle because, I could, because I have, you have the charger that you can plug in, and, just if I had a long enough extension cord, I could do it. You know what I mean? But standardly, no capability. And I always say, if you have an EV vehicle, the best case scenario is to have the ability to charge it overnight at your home. And we're just talking about the simple fact that for the EV world to move forward, this is going to have to become a reality. It's going to have to become a reality that these vehicles can be charged in 5-10 minutes. The majority of people who have grown up and lived the majority of their lives gassing up their vehicles over at the gas station in 15 minutes if they putting a full tank in or less, are not going to be able to deal with sitting at an EV charging station for 35-45 minutes. Nobody has that kind of time. We're all busy people. We don't have that kind of time. Okay? So, bottom line for what I'm going to really say is that, hey, if BYD beats us to the punch and they build a charging station that's going to charge these vehicles in 5 minutes, it's about time to get back with China and start getting those BYD vehicles on the BYD charging stations over here. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm looking forward to it. I like them BYDs. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Next up, Stellantis. We love us. I'm lying. I don't love Stellantis. I think Stellantis is out there just destroying our great U.S. automakers. But Stellantis has decided they've appointed their new CEO. Let's check it out.
4 months for Stellantis to replace Carlos Tavares, who was ousted in December after 10 years at the helm of Stellantis. And Bloomberg had reported that Antonio Filosa, the current head of Stellantis in North America, had been the top contender. And clearly, this is sending a huge message to the US. He is described as the anti-Tavares. He started his career at Fiat 25 years ago. He was
the anti-Tavares.
a protege of the late former Fiat CEO Sergio Marchionne, and clearly Tavares had huge clashes recently with the United States, with unions, with car dealers, with politicians about how Stellantis is handling their brands in the US. You know, they own Jeep, they own Ram, Dodge, and Chrysler, of course, and they've been accused there of not reviving fast enough the portfolio of these brands and really losing market share in the US. So we'll see if Antonio Filosa reassures investors, especially on the US markets. Of course, there is the uncertainty about Trump's trade policies, because even though Stellantis has a lot of production lines in the United States, they import a lot of car parts from Canada, from Mexico, and in fact they recently said that they were withdrawing, kind of suspending their guidance for the rest of the year due to the uncertainty about all these tariffs. They even at some point considered moving some production from China to Europe in order to avoid the potential US tariffs on China. The North America deliveries of Stellantis fell 20% in the first quarter, and the market cap of Stellantis has shrunk about 2/3 since the peak in March last year. So we'll see if Antonio Filosa can reassure investors, especially reviving the relationships with the US market.
All right. So, exactly, that's what I'm talking about. So, you know, I don't really care who they're bringing in. I hate to say that. Antonio Filosa. He was running Fiat. Okay. Now, if anybody who's in the know, Fiat, Italian, Filosa, Italian, Stellantis, mostly Italian, run, Tavares, Italian. So, what I'm saying is that, and I've been saying this for so long, these people don't care about American products. They care about Peugeot and Fiat. They care about their brands. They don't care about us. They purchased us to destroy us. I'm just going to be straight up. They purchased these U.S. automakers to make sure, well, you would hope. You would hope that they purchased them to make a profit, to make them great, and all these other things. But like I've always said, it just seems like they came in to buy them up and to tear them down. They've already started selling off brands, getting rid of brands. You know, they've talked several times about selling off Dodge and separating Chrysler, selling that to everybody. I've never liked Stellantis. I'm gonna put it like that. They have tremendously, and just like the young lady just said, they have not been putting the effort behind these U.S. automakers. They assumed, and this is just a guess, but I guess they assumed that since they were these U.S. automakers, they didn't really have to put the marketing and the branding and the power behind them to make them successful. And they had to understand that the whole reason that they got them for the low was because they were suffering. When Stellantis bought all these companies, they were suffering. That's why they was cheap to buy. That's how Stellantis took over as a parent company. It's just a horrible situation through and through. And I'm going to hope that this Filosa guy is going to be an anti-Tavares, and he's going to bring back a lot of market share to these companies. But for him to do that, they have to do a lot of innovation. The real reason that Stellantis and all these companies under Stellantis, all these U.S. automakers under Stellantis failed was because there was no innovation. They weren't trying new stuff. They was going with the old stuff. They were just throwing it out there. They was raising the prices crazy. Raising the prices crazy. No explanation, just, hey, this is how much it costs now. And they surprised that they lost so much market share, that these companies are in dire straits. Stellantis is in dire straits in that part of their company, and they're getting to the point where they're going to make what I've been saying ever so true, is that they're going to sell them off in pieces. Just corporate raiders, man. It just feel like a corporate raider, and it irks me. But let us keep going. Let's look at some fun stuff. Let's look at some fun stuff to get y'all up out of here. We're talking about Shedeur Sanders. Famous, I'm not even, I was going to say, no, I'm not even going to say that. Shedeur Sanders, the new quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, who went through some turmoil when it came to the draft. But hey, after the draft was over, my man was smiling, dancing, enjoying himself. You know why? Because he knew that junk didn't matter for him. That matters for other people. See, Shedeur comes from a great family that will have his back no matter what. And that's where he gets that beautiful confidence from. So, real quick, last but not least, we're going to check out a story about Shedeur as he gets him a new car, as he becomes the fresh new quarterback, rookie quarterback over at the Cleveland Browns. Let's check it out. Now, we're not going to watch this whole video. We're just going to watch the part where he get the car.
By the way, we just got a Rolls-Royce delivered to the house.
Him. I wonder if they drove that thing all the way from that location to his house and back over there. I would think not, but that would be.
Let me see if that's one I respect. That's the what's he called? It's called.
You going crazy, man.
At least I got door handles.
Hey, my car got there?
Which one? This nigga here. You know, they only get money. It's all good.
It go into something else. So let's read the story, okay? Yeah, we're not about to sit here and watch old boy get his hair cut. Shedeur Sanders' new car purchase draws attention before Browns OTAs. Barry Shuck, May 27th, 2025. This is Yahoo Sports. Back in the day, rookie players in the NFL made the least amount of money. Veterans treated them bad and bossed them around in practices as well as off the field. Veterans did not associate with rooks at restaurants or bars. Most rookies have never even saw the field for a minimum of 2 seasons. Just the way it was. But now, a team starting quarterback can be a rookie. So can the left tackle and one of the cover cornerbacks. An edge pass rusher picked in the first round is expected to grab one of the starting defensive end spots. But how many rookie purchased a custom Rolls-Royce before their very first training camp? If you said a Cleveland Brown rookie, then you are correct. If that guess is the player Cleveland selected in the first round, 5th overall, you would be mistaken. It is quarterback Shedeur Sanders, the Browns' 5th round draft pick. Over this past weekend, delivery of a custom Rolls-Royce Phantom, estimated to be worth a minimum of $500,000, became known via the video below. The Browns signed Sanders to a 4-year, $4.6 million contract, which includes an annual salary of $1.16 million and a signing bonus of $447,000. Wait, hold up. What? Oh, okay, 4 years. All right, okay, that makes it. Okay. The green Rolls-Royce arrived from Advanced Auto Transport out of South Lake, Texas, to Deion Sanders' Canton, Texas estate to an area that already had 4 trucks, 1 SUV, 1 car, 1 custom golf cart, plus an RV parked outside 2 buildings that housed other vehicles. Trimmed with an orange pinstripe and black wheels, the 4-door Rolls-Royce is not his first. At the University of Colorado, Sanders drove a black and gold Rolls-Royce Cullinan, which arrived with custom accessories. He also owned a Rolls-Royce Ghost. Shedeur's brother Shiloh, who signed an undrafted rookie free agent contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and drives a Tesla Cyber Beast, was doing FaceTime with Shedeur when the vehicle arrived. Upon seeing the new ride via his brother's cell phone, Shedeur stated, "That's a winning car." Shedeur will compete with 3 other quarterbacks in Browns camp this year: Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and fellow rookie Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon. It is projected that the Cleveland coaching staff will only retain 3 quarterbacks on their final roster, with at least 1 signal caller on their practice squad. Man, if he'd be on the It may seem odd that a rookie taken in round 5 would be spending his money on such a lavish expenditure, but a view into his father's estate and their possessions is simply another toy tossed into the arena for this family. Sponsorships have already started coming Shedeur's way when he was featured in a recent Gatorade commercial, so although his father is wealthy, Shedeur is making money. Opportunities are already beginning to surface. This is even though he may become QB3 or could be released. For sponsors right now, Shedeur is the hot commodity and everyone wants to watch. With potential earnings from sponsorships and other ventures, Shedeur is in great position to amplify his financial portfolio significantly. Keep in mind, Shedeur could have made more money if he had remained in college. Last year, he had led all college football athletes in the NIL money to the tune of $5.1 million. Jesus criminy. The custom Rolls-Royce is not just a lavish ornament, it is a bold statement even before his NFL career begins that he has arrived and plans to take the league by storm. Whether that happens or not is irrelevant at this point. If he succeeds, it will only help the Browns franchise around him. That is crazy. Alright, so fantastic for that young man. I'm just happy that he, just a great family. I love nepotism. I love nepotism, but I think nepotism is a great thing. I really appreciate when a father, really puts into their sons greatness and the ability to be great and the desire to be great. I think this is great. Now, the real thing that I want to touch on about this. Sorry, I lost some light there. All right. So, now, the real thing that I want to touch on about this, I want to touch on what happened to him in the draft, okay? And I just want to point out, really, this is not car stuff, this is just going off a tangent a little bit, that we continuously see that there are people that are in positions of power that control things and can, move boulders that are standing too heavy for other people. And what I mean when I say that is that, we still have NFL owners and people of that ilk with such power that they could bring down a terror storm on a young man like Shedeur Sanders, such as the draft. Now, we all understand or kind of can figure out that this was a setup. This young man was much better than the majority of the quarterbacks that were taken in the draft before him. And we understand that this is what I consider an attempt at buck breaking. And I don't know how many people are familiar with that term, but this is just a fancy form of financial buck breaking, a way for a person in authority, in some shape, form of authority, to show their power over somebody who shows great power in themselves, shows that they themselves have the utmost confidence and utmost belief in themselves that nothing can shake them. And the NFL is one of those conglomerates that likes for its people that work for them to understand that they are the big kahuna in there. They want you to understand that. They want to make it known. And they've done this to other players. We've seen people drop drastically and drastically. Now, have we seen it so drastic as a situation that happened to Shedeur to the point where he dropped to the 5th round? I mean, team after team after team was passing him. And you know, and I haven't seen Prime Time's response. I kind of wanted to see what Prime Time's response was to this. I personally think that he is laying back away from this because he understands what's happening as well. And if he was to be Prime Time and to step out there and show him that what real true power is, or to combat his power against their power, Dion probably understands that as powerful and as great as he is, those guys probably have a seat of power above him. And I think that's kind of why he hasn't really made any bold statements about what happened. I'm pretty sure that he taught his sons not to make any bold statements or anything crazy against these people what they did, because they don't care. They live in a world where they've made the success. They understand that all they have to do is persevere and they would be successful no matter what other people do. And this is the key. No matter what other people do to you, that shouldn't stop you from progressing. No matter what people do to you, the racism that they do to you, the not giving you the job that you desired, any of those things that affect you and that somebody else has done to you, you have to persevere. You have to put a smile on your face and keep trudging forward, because people are going to do this to you. People do it to me. People are going to do it to you. People are going to continuously do it probably for the rest of your lives. And we have to keep it going, man. We have to keep stepping forward. We got to keep progressing. We got to keep our heads up. Keep our confidence strong. Just like the Sanders family did. Just like Shedeur did. After all they did to him, he continues to smile. He continues to progress. And he continues to show that he is going to be a great NFL quarterback. All right, guys, I'm going to let y'all get up out of here. I'm your boy, Chris Surratt. Please like, share, subscribe. Hit me in the DMs if you have any questions. And I'm out. Peace.